Welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our soul astrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offering on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Hello, and welcome to Rainbow Soul. Bright Hawk will be with us in just a second. Exactly. We had to get our coffee, our tea. We just had to. Welcome everyone. I'm Hollis. I'm one of your astrologers here today, and we will be doing a forecast today for the week of this week, starting today on out till next Sunday, the 16th. And I'm a professional astrologer. You can book with me. There's a link in the description if you're interested in a reading, which is incredibly valuable. There you go.
Hi there.
Here's our coffee maker.
Ta-da! Cheers. Hope you're enjoying a warm beverage. I'm Bright Hawk. You can always learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm an artist, an author, an astrologer, a musician. Happy to share my handpan music every week here with Hollis's beautiful guided meditations. And of course, you can always see more of our offerings of guided meditations. So we've got a handful of them now, I think 5 of them, at Bright Hawk Productions on YouTube. So many thanks. Always great to be here. And
I'm back. I'm Lacrosse Ortiz, the creator of A Fool's Journey Color Journal and creator of Master of None. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. Whatever comes with all.
Fabulous. Yeah. And, I'm so grateful to be doing this astrology forecast. I feel like I've grown just by doing the forecast, learned a lot about the transits. And so just so you know, like right now, we're going to do a little meditation and a little guided meditation. Then we're going to move into forecasting for everyone. And then we'll move into a forecast for each zodiac sign. So you want to have your astrology chart with you. If you don't have it now, go ahead and grab that. You want to have, if you have it printed out, I highly recommend that. Like, I'm not a big person of paper things, but of all the things to print, that would be one of them. Just so you can like jot things down or write things down on it or circle things, or like, you forget what Pluto looks like or something. And then I finally point it out and you're like, there it is. And you got to circle it. Okay. And so that kind of thing could be really helpful if you're learning astrology. We want you to learn astrology. We want you, that's part of why I'm here. Like I want you to be able to learn astrology. That's the whole thing. I'm happy to teach it. I do have a 101 class. Bright Hawk and I did a 101 class where we actually like pretty much broke everything down for you so you can read your chart, and it makes it really easy. And a lot of people have expressed a lot of love for that. So just so you know, that's there, and I would love to have you guys try that class out. And it comes with coaching with me, and also Bright Hawk also is doing astrology readings, and you can book them. Bright Hawk's probably going to give you a different reading than what I give you. And I always say that, like, it's sort of like any other thing, different psychics have different perspectives. And I think that that's part of this experience, and I think the interesting thing about astrology, and I think one of the most beautiful thing about astrology, is that we all end up at the same place, even different methods. We all end up with this very similar answers.
That's how I feel like
it's kind of like the magic.
I feel like that's when it's for real, which is why we say do what piques your interest. There's so many avenues you can go down in astrology, truly. You know, uh, so many different, there's so many. Oh my goodness. When
So
we went to
many.
the international conference and went to the bookstore, oh my goodness, you didn't know
Oh,
there were that many books on astrology
yeah.
and all kinds of different things, beautiful, different takes. And yeah, sky's the limit on what are your interests. And then, you know, I love what you just said, you know, we all end up at the same place. That's how you know it's true, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of beautiful about it. Like, I think that's the most beautiful thing, that it's so magically, and it's magic. To me, it's kind of beautiful. And I think I find that astrology is very inspiring
For
and
sure.
validating. So
For sure.
remember, if you got your chart going on, just, don't be afraid to ask comments, to, go ahead and write a comment um in the comments section here.
We love
I'll be
the
happy to
dialogue with
listen
you
to
guys.
you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's really
so
makes it a lot more fun.
good evening, Alyssa. It's great to have you with us this week again. It's good to see
Yeah.
you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Welcome. So I just like to acknowledge everyone and say hello. And, you can catch us on YouTube. If you're seeing this in a group or something and you can't, like, it's probably in a group, you might have to go to the page. I might not be able to see it in all the groups. But you can go to the page, or you can go to YouTube. We're in a variety of places. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a little meditation for today. I'm going to invite you to settle yourself in your body. Take a deep breath. We're going to do a little meditation for this week's highlight, which is the full moon in Leo. Let's just take this moment to settle yourself down. Feel your bottom on the seat, your feet on the floor. Take a few deep breaths. Just let any tension go that you might be holding. And just blow it all out. Just blow it all out there. Just let it go. I invite you to imagine yourself underneath a beautiful night sky. And the moon is glowing above you. It's impossible to ignore. It's bright, and it feels like it's looking right at you. And as you stare up at the beautiful full moon, smiling down on you, you can see a constellation come from just behind it, and it transforms as it moves through the moon into a lion. A beautiful lion's head, reminding you that this full moon is deep into Leo, inspiring you. You just can't help but stare at this full moon in Leo. And it's inspiring your heart, pushing you into big-hearted actions, feeling inside of you that you are headed in the right direction, that things are finally coming to resolve. You're finding some answers, some solutions, some healing. Your intuition has led you in the right direction. And for that, you're grateful. You can put your hand on your heart because Leo has the big heart. And it roars with pride and integrity. As you feel that Leo energy in your own heart, that love, fierce and stable love, that undeniable attraction, you can feel that in your heart. And you can smile and know that when you follow your intuition, everything will turn out just right. Now, as you smile and feel the warmth of the moon shining down on you, you come back into your body, back into the here and now, back into this present moment. I invite you to wiggle your toes or your fingers or both, and open your eyes, and come back to the here and now of this astrology forecast at Rainbow Soul. Well done, Bright Hawk. Well done. Loving it. Leo moon. Just can't help but look at the Leo moon. Anyone that has a Leo moon or any kind of Leo placements, usually they're kind of hard to resist, or they're sort of attractive for reasons you don't know. It's not like Scorpio is beautiful, like usually to look at, but Leo is like got this like prideful heart, and they tend to be natural leaders. So that's the beautiful thing about that. So well done, Bright Hawk. Look, everybody's loving it.
Thank you.
Chelsea's clapping. Virtual clap. Virtual clap.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you too.
Well, that's really sweet, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I do these little meditations, because I feel like just having a minute to like just sit and listen to what I'm saying about, whatever is happening this week, I feel like it helps you integrate it, like it helps you like, okay, now I see that like Leo is kind of like got that irresistible star power. Like when we think of Leo, think of that star power. Okay. So like think about that person that you're like, why is everybody like this person? It's often because they have a Leo placement. So just so you know. You're welcome, Debbie. It's great to have you with us. We're glad you're here. Welcome. Love having you all with us.
Aw, that's great.
All right.
So, it's a full moon week. That's always exciting. Happens once a month. Every couple of weeks we're headed to either a new moon or full moon, and this is one of those weeks where yabba dabba do, the Leos are the ones with the full moon.
But it doesn't mean that only Leos are affected. Like it also means that maybe you have something else in Leo. I have Venus in Leo, and maybe you have something in Leo. Maybe not. But you should look, because wherever the full moon is, whatever house it's in your chart.
For sure.
You have Leo in your chart somewhere, and wherever it is, then you can easily, say, oh, okay, so that's where some good energy is probably going to be coming. Now, let me just say, there is a shadow side to Leo sometimes. It can be frustrated. It can kind of be sometimes a little bit arrogant or appear arrogant. I'm not sure they're actually arrogant. I think that actually what happens is they just happen to be very integrous, or they might know a lot of things, or they might be very good at something, and then they know that they're good at that, and so then people tend to see that as arrogance. Our culture is not very good at celebrating talented people unless they're famous, and often famous people have placements in Leo. Okay, so just saying. So
I know for me last week, it was really obvious one day that I just had really thin skin. Like it was impossible. I could talk myself rationally through the fact that I shouldn't take everything personally. But practice was another deal altogether. You know, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe how everything feels so personal today. So somehow this full moon feels the opposite of that. I feel like I'm in my groove. And Leos love to be in their groove, because when we're in our groove, we usually keep everybody around us in a good groove too. You know, we like the happy vibe. So, you know, me with the Sag sun and the Leo moon, that's a lot of fire.
Yeah.
But my Virgo grounds it out. Thank goodness. My Virgo ascendant really keeps me.
Let's answer Alyssa's question. She said, I had a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
My chart from astro.com says my north node is 23 degrees Pisces.
Okay.
But on astro-charts, it says my north node is 24 degrees Pisces, 15 minutes, and retrograde. Most of the time, the north node is retrograde.
Exactly.
Let me just say that.
Yeah.
She said, I'd imagine the single degree may not be too much of a difference. But with one saying my north node was in retrograde and the other says it wasn't, what's different? So most of the time, people are born with it in retrograde. So most of the time, the nodes are in retrograde. So that you should know. I'm wondering if maybe at astro.com, do you know how to look for a retrograde on there? And I'm wondering, I'm like thinking, I'm wondering, is the time slightly off, or did you change like Placidus, or did you change like the type of like house system or something like that? Because I think astro-charts has different default than astro.com. What I'll tell you is that they still bring you to the same place. You're right about that, Alyssa, which is what we were saying a little bit earlier. It's just a slightly different approach. Especially when you start talking about the house systems, they still bring you to the same place. But I think I learned through Placidus. I have done Full House, but I find that Placidus for me is more accurate when I go to try to read it. And astro.com is the most respected online free astrology software for most famous, well-known professional astrologers. Okay, so I would believe astro.com over top of astro charts if you were to compare the two. Okay, I have seen some discrepancies between the two of those at times. Okay. So, Alyssa said that she's a Leo rising. So the moon is in your first and second house of here. Okay, and on your rising, that's a pretty big deal, Alyssa. Okay, so she said I double checked the times and everything is identical, the exception of the single degree and the retrograde differences. Okay, I would believe astro.com. Just saying. It's okay, Barbara. You're allowed to be late. No problem.
We're just getting started. You're not late. You're right here on time.
I'll get them. Don't worry about Barbara. I'll get the scammer. I'll get them. Hey, Izzy. Hey, Izzy. Welcome. All right. So
I actually had a question.
Go for it.
You were saying how Leo, like we have all the different zodiacs. Okay. So what happens when the zodiac is like smack dab in the middle between two houses? Like, will it affect both those houses?
Okay, so I think, wait, you're talking about in between two, like it crosses over two houses?
Right. like let's say you would have Leo in first, but then it also like halfway, like half in first, and then it goes half in second in the second house.
So the first half, the what is on that line at the beginning of the house, the beginning of the degree, is what is the ruler of that house. So so that's why some people use whole house systems to try to simplify it, but I find that to be less accurate, because you want to know who the ruler of the house is. And so whatever is on that line determines it. So I have a couple of houses where it's only like a couple of degrees of one sign, and then most of the house is the rest of it.
Right.
I have a number of those, and it helps you understand the flavor, like the dominance of the sign. Like in one of my houses, where I have that going on.
It's probably on here. Like you can see here, even though Leo finishes out the third house, it begins the fourth house.
So it rules the fourth house.
So it's ruling the fourth house on this particular chart. And then what you do with that, the reason it's important, even if you don't have any planets in it, this is how you tell the difference. Now, this is not a natal chart. This is an event chart. But let's say it was. And so it's in the fourth house. It's ruling the fourth house. So then you're like, okay, well, the fourth house is like family origin and stuff like that. So the ruler of it is the sun. So then we look up at the sun and find out where it's at. And that gives us a flavor of what your family of origin was like. Okay, so for you, Lacrosse, I just took a peek at your chart. I seen that Leo's ruling the 12th house. So then what you want to do, so the 12th house is like stuff you don't see, man. It's like stuff, it's like it tends to be things that you tend to not see. So that's why we include things like nursing homes, hospitals, and other institutions, psychic abilities, psychics. So then you want to go find where the sun is. And then that's going to give you the flavor of how that comes for you. Okay. So here we are. This is at the beginning of the week. This is today. Sure. And the first thing I want to say is like, today is probably a pretty good day because the moon is, it's just entered Leo. It's not quite full just quite yet. And it's in a trine to Venus. So I feel like when the moon's in a trine to Venus, you're having a good day.
Yeah. And, we've picked a time where I know we often talk about the void of course moon, but I'll explain again because not everybody's familiar with it. The void of course moon is when the moon is at its weakest, which is interesting because we're going into Leo and into this full moon when this moon is generally at its strongest. But the void time we talk about as being the time to take care of yourself, chillax, be mindful of not being initiating things, trying to launch something during a void moon is a bad idea. But it's a great idea to take advantage of an opportunity to self-care, or since there's less drama, I've said many times that one of the ideas we learned from Celeste, the astrologer, she said, could be a great time to have non-dramatic conversations. Like if you want certain things maybe there's somebody you have to deal with and it's always a drama and you're like, and you don't want the drama, do it during the void time.
So that's right
and then now. Let me know, because we've traveled during the void of course moon, which has been very interesting, where there just was no drama and the airport was really quiet. And then right as we arrived and we were finishing, you could tell the moon was coming out of void because you could literally feel the buzz of people rising. It was wild.
You start to notice it when you start to pay attention a little bit more. I think you're starting to go, oh, and you because you tend to kind of overlook the void moon because it's non-dramatic, but knowing that it's happening, we have discovered that it's been pretty helpful.
Yeah.
So that's happening right now and will be happening for the next hour and a half.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's pretty important. I would say that Mars is still retrograde. So if you've been encountering some problems during this Mars retrograde that have been going on for a really long time, it is in a square to Chiron and it's in a trine to Saturn this week. And I feel like, at least the beginning of the week, I feel like that's going to be like, yes, that's going to help you find resolution to whatever you've been dealing with. If this Mars and Cancer transit has just been really rough for you, then just know that it's in a square to Chiron, it's in a trine to Saturn, and so that's going to bring healing, that's going to bring resolution, solutions, and as Mars comes to a slowdown at the end of the month, it's good because it's about to turn around and go direct again, which I think is excellent, and with the interesting thing, like on the world stage, is that the sun is in Aquarius and it's conjunct Mercury. It's square Uranus right now, so that probably be going on for most of the week. But with it conjunct Mercury, I feel like that is people talking about how we all have to stand up. How all the people have to come together, right? Because we've been talking about Aquarius, right, you guys? So like Aquarius is about the collective, right? About everybody coming together, about everybody being treated fairly and everyone being treated in a good way. And Mercury is often about communication. I feel like there is some heavy communication going on right now. People are organizing. And I also feel like there's probably some legal stuff going on. Like there's lots of that kind of thing, especially since Jupiter went direct last week. It's been like, oh, we're gonna, and more legal stuff is gonna start taking out the bad guys.
Let's hope so, right? Because goodness, it's lovely when you see in the astrology that there could be some justice coming. It seems like justice is the path right now. That's very important.
Especially with Jupiter going direct. I just feel like that's such a gift. That is such a solid gift for all of us because it really could save the day.
Blessed be for that.
Especially as it moves on, into Cancer. I just feel like Jupiter is a positive benefit planet, and it usually will start to resolve things that are off or wrong. Cool. So, all right. So I think, did you have anything you wanted to add about this Tuesday?
Nope. The headline of the week, of course, is the fact that we have a full moon in Leo. And isn't that fantastic? Because, whoever said they were Leo rising, this is probably what the chart looked like for you.
Right? Yeah.
Because, we have, this chart is the exact time of the full moon, which is in the morning. And of course, a full moon is either going to be at dawn or at dusk, sunrise or sunset. And of course, what defines a full moon? They're opposite sides of the sky. And of course, the moon and Mercury have been having a conversation. Now they're in a separating conjunction. And of course, the sun has been square Uranus, so now the moon is in a square to Uranus, which makes it a T-square. And
so I feel like T-squares are hard, but not impossible.
Right.
And I feel like they're a challenge.
And Uranus at the top of it, as the facilitator of the conversation, means it's going to be totally different. Uranus is a surprise a minute. So Uranus and Taurus...
I feel like there's going to be lots of surprises, particularly around money and the way we handle money, as well as with, I think conservatives will probably find themselves very surprised And I think that Uranus is about progress, right? It's about moving us forward. It's about where we're supposed to go. It's about our life path. It's also very surprising and usually catches you off guard, but it's in a square to the moon and it's in a square to the sun. So that means it could be difficult, which is exactly what's happening in our world and our politics. As far as our life goes, I feel like there could be a difficult thing that's been coming up recently that you have to handle, but this is the moment where you're going to be able to find the answers to it. This is when the answers are going to come through. This is when you're going to be able to do, okay, this is what we can do about this. And I think that's like really the power of things right there. I think that's a really, really big deal, that T square there, especially for like the world, because Leo full moons are, they're usually, I feel like they're usually like noticed by everyone just because I think because of the Leo energy. And then on top of that, with the sun in Aquarius, with Mercury, and Mercury's said what they needed to say, and now we're moving across, and Mars is going to be coming to a stop here, so it's going to really push things forward. And with the trine, the moon in a trine to Chiron's all about healing. So I feel like this is a real blessing, okay? And this is a really special day on Wednesday, and I think this is really powerful. I see there's a void moon
in
Wednesday
the evening
night.
Yeah, so 7:11 p.m. in Mountain Time, of course, to 1 a.m. the next day. And so I know we've occasionally heard from our friends who work the night shift, so this hopefully makes it a quieter night after a full moon. That's always, there's the blessing, if you will.
Yeah, work 3 to 11 on 3 to 11. The end of your shift to be easy on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Okay, and as we move on into Thursday, it still seems like that full moon is really the highlight of the week.
For sure.
Is what we've looked at. And there's because the moon is going to move into Virgo, and as we move into like Thursday, so most of the conversation will just be as Nadia, I give credit to Nadia Shaw for that term, conversation. That's when two planets are talking to each other. We call those aspects. Those are those lines in the middle. That's what those lines in the middle mean. The blue ones are fairly easy, and the red ones are usually a challenge. So and it also is based on the strength of the planet, what sign it's in, because some planets are in a sign that it's in detriment, like Jupiter is in Gemini, which it's in detriment there. It's not very strong there, okay, because it's as far away from home as it can be, okay, because its home is Sagittarius, okay. And so when that happens, just like the moon is really strong in Cancer, right? So it's really super strong. And so you want to pay attention to the rulerships when certain planets are in certain places, because it will be less and less important, and then some things will be more important. The sun is always important, so the sun is in Aquarius, but it's with Mercury in Aquarius. That's not particularly in detriment or anything like that. But Saturn's in Pisces. That, I feel like that's just kind of watery, and I think it's okay though, and it tends to bring emotional change. So I'm just seeing that, those red lines, don't worry about them too much. I mean, we're going to have challenges right now in our country because of the sun in Aquarius, and the Pluto in Aquarius is part of our transit right now. Just remember, you chose to be here at this time. There's some reason you're here. There's some reason you're here, even if you're just the one that speaks up for everyone else, right?
So the headline on Valentine's Day is that Mercury is moving into Pisces. So
that's a good time for that.
Yeah. So go.
Yeah, okay. So Mercury in Pisces is communication, emotional communication. That's exactly what comes to mind there. That's what I'm thinking. Like emotional communication, communicating what's in the heart, bringing through the real feelings. And I feel like Mercury in Pisces is actually really good. It's in detriment there, but I still feel like for Valentine's Day that's probably good because then we can communicate our emotions, hopefully.
Yeah, be sensitive to the needs of the moment. But hopefully every day is Valentine's Day with your beloved.
Hopefully.
Or as close to it.
Yeah.
Right?
I do see that Mars is in a trine to Saturn most of this week, huh?
Yeah, it has been for a while. And
that's I feel like that's pretty good.
mhm.
That just means that Mars going backwards in the end of its retrograde pattern here. It's going to be speaking to things about the system. So if you've been experiencing a lot of hard things, you might have to deal with the system to some degree, maybe in a way you don't want to. But don't worry, it'll probably work itself out. You just do what you're supposed to do, educate yourself and figure out what form you got to fill out or whatever it is, and then just take care of it. I know I'm dealing with the system. So, like everybody's having their own little experience with Mars retrograde there.
For sure.
So
for sure.
if you've been experiencing
next week,
that,
don't worry, it all ends next week.
it will. Thank God, right? Okay. Good grief, Mars. Let's get out of that retrograde pattern. I mean, it's been hard for some of us. Some of us have lots of people
folks
are moving. A lot of people are like, in Cancer rules home and houses and things like that. So a lot of people are moving. And some of them unexpectedly,
Right.
And some people have been having some health problems with their gut, and I'm like, oh, Cancer rules the gut. So yeah, this is
sorry,
stuff like
folks.
that,
Yeah.
man. And I'm like, oh,
we'll all be glad. We'll all feel like,
so.
Oh my God, it will be a relief. Unless, of course, you have Mars retrograde. Maybe it's been
maybe it's been a great blessing.
I haven't
for
really
you.
met too many people with Mars retrograde.
I've done a few readings for people with Mars in retrograde, and I think it's just like Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah.
You're more comfortable when Mars is retrograde.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You master certain things.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So on Saturday, which, just to know what's happening for Valentine's Day, we'll probably be better about speaking about our emotions, and we'll be able to express ourselves, hopefully, to, as best we can with Mars in, with Mercury in Pisces. It is in its detriment, technically. But, I think for the most part, this weekend will be good. Hopefully you'll be focused on love and things like that, and relationships. And with Venus and Aries, it could be a little fiery, so hopefully
it's hot sex. That's what we're hoping for. Chiron in Aries, Venus in Aries. May it all be healing and wonderful. Things have been intense. We all understand. And so the interesting thing about the moon is now it's entering into Libra, of course, and it's conjunct the South Node. So when we see the moon pass over the South Node, don't be surprised if someone from your past or, gosh, why am I thinking of so-and-so from way back when? Things like that can happen, because that's what the South Node represents. The South Node is our past lives, our history, at a soul level and a life level.
Yep.
So it can be a wonderful thing. It can, in many respects, I hope. If you've lived good lives, I guess.
And it's a void moon, so it probably won't be super dramatic or anything. Right. At 8:35 in the morning.
Yeah. So Saturday morning, have an extra long workout or whatever it is that you like to do.
Chillax.
Good self-care.
Have pancakes.
And then go for a long walk.
Oh man. Okay, so that'll be Saturday, and Sunday looks mostly the same, except that the moon is moving on, and we're having that T-square there. It's not quite perfected though, with Chiron in a square to Mars. So I really think that Mars is trying to wrap things up for you. So if you've been struggling the last few weeks, just know that you're probably going to start noticing that Mars is going to just start wrapping things up, starting to finish things up for you. I feel like that's going to be like the main thing. And with the full moon in Leo, like some good ideas, some resolutions, and some big heart is going to come into play here. Okay. Like people, people with Leo placements might might make big hearted choices, and that's okay. So, um, so Izzy said, "Oh my God, I hope that this progresses this week with all my inheritance stuff and also the global economy and everything." Yeah, just do your best there, Izzy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the globe, but you'll probably be fine. And then Alyssa said, Pisces sun here. My daughter's birthday is on Valentine's Day. We normally have issues with communication. Well, yeah, I don't know if she has a Pisces placement there, Alyssa. Hopefully you can at least communicate your emotions and say how much you love her, and hopefully she can hear that. Yep. Okay. So Barbara said that's spot on for her daughter. And that she's having to move unexpectedly and stomach issues too. Yeah.
Cancer, man. Mars retrograde in Cancer.
Jeez.
It's been a bear.
Yeah.
For especially if you have strong placements.
Yeah.
Now we'll see that. Have we got any other?
No, not right now. I was just going to say hello to Beth Wetstein in the Mystical Connections group. I just want to acknowledge everyone before we move on to the next thing. So I just wanted to acknowledge her. But so this full moon in Leo, I think it's a really special time, right? So I think we're all going to be okay. And as far as like the global economy and stuff like that goes, that is so much a bigger like transit thing. Like when you start talking about mundane astrology, like the world, and the and like politics and stuff like that, it ends up being a totally different story actually. And then our personal lives, and that's really what happens. Like sometimes really bad things are happening, are happening at the same time that good things are happening in your home, right? So this isn't completely unbelievable for you. There's a lot of times that happens, right? So just be aware of that. And just be aware that sometimes try not to get too caught up in those politics. Just always remember what I always want to say is that we're all here for a reason. We are all here for a reason right now. And this crap that's happening we're supposed to be part of it somehow. And so figure out what your part is, and then, just be okay with that, and just understand that it might be time for you to stand up, because it certainly is time for people to stand up. That's what we're going to be finding out. Okay. So we're going to be finding this out. So now, so hold on. Barbara said, what does the little R mean on my chart? My daughter has it a lot. That's called retrograde, Barbara. So she has a lot of retrograde planets. What I would say about that is that she'll probably master things over the age of 30. So those things will be a challenge for her, but she'll master them as she gets better. And the older she gets, especially past 40, she'll really start to master those kinds of things. And she will be a completely different person in her older age than she is in a young age. And the thing she struggles with is she's young. She won't probably carry those forward. Okay. And so Alyssa says she has 2 placements in Pisces, Uranus, Chiron. So fingers crossed. Well, you might be surprised, huh? So that's probably what's more likely to happen. You're probably going to feel some surprise, and Venus is already there, and so is the North Node. So whatever it is, Alyssa, is meant to happen. It's destined right now because the North Node is in Pisces. Okay, so Barbara said that her daughter's chart says Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron all have a retrograde. Typically, Chiron is usually retrograde. Right. Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are not. And those are some pretty big planets. But the most personal one is Mercury. So the number one thing about that I would say is if you're born with a Mercury retrograde, you should know. Well, Brighthawk can talk about that.
Yeah, so actually, I think I have a lot of what she has.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure about Neptune. I have a stellium in the 12th house with Mars, Uranus, and Pluto. And so Pluto, I'm pretty sure, is retrograde. I know I have Mercury retrograde, and I'm not sure about the other one. So anyway, what does it mean? What it means is that first thing is that I will say, and Stormy Grace was the one who taught us about this, excellent astrologer. She said it really is when things go into retrograde, that you have retrograde, you're more relaxed. You're like, oh yeah, I'm used to this vibration. Anything with a in retrograde, it's time to review. It's time to, go over things. It's all about, look before you leap. And it kind of forces you to go internal and look and evaluate and analyze. So those with the Mercury retrograde, no surprise, a ton of people who are in communication have Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, and I feel
they've learned how to master the skill.
So when Mercury goes retrograde, your daughter's probably better at communicating. Just saying.
And watch it, especially at the beginning when it goes into retrograde, and at the end, because what I'll notice is that Hollis starts speaking backwards. Mm-hmm. It's almost like dyslexic brain or something. And you said I frequently break something,
or you'll drop. Things will break or something.
Will break something, not on purpose.
Not on purpose. But you won't struggle quite as much as I will. Like I'll struggle. You'll feel it go in and feel it come out, but you're a Virgo rising, so Mercury does rule Virgo. I'm a Virgo sun. I feel it much more intensely. And then on top of that, when it's during most of the retrograde, I'll stumble over my words and talk backwards, and she won't. So that's the thing about that. Okay, so Barbara said that she's definitely struggles a lot in life, but also very spiritual. She's beautiful. I see her growing a lot, and she's 25. Oh, she's not done growing yet. Wait till she's really grown up. Wait till she's really grown up. She doesn't 30. Grow up till she's 30. After she goes through her Saturn returns, you'll be like, wow, she's a different person now. Watch what happens. That's when you grow up in astrology.
For sure.
Is at 30 years old. Okay. So now we're going to do for the sun, moon, and rising for the full moon in Leo. So that's the full moon in Leo this Wednesday. And I'm going to do the sun, moon, and rising for everyone. So what you want to do is you want to know what your sun, moon, and rising are and listen for those 3 zodiac signs and then kind of combine the 3 together. And that's going to be the vibration of your week. Okay. Especially on Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's usually a couple days around the full moon that you start to feel it, even up to today, I would say. So we got the Aries. This is for Aries. This is for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. This is going to have a whole lot to do with your day-to-day life. This is going to affect your work in the world or whatever you do every day. And or could also affect your wellness, your health. So in a good way, maybe you finally find a solution to something you've been dealing with for a long time or something. Okay. And with the full moon in Leo, I would definitely be paying attention to, like how much water you're drinking and things like that, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's a good time for you to start anything new, especially in relation to your heart or your integrity. And so that's for Aries. Okay. That's for Aries. That's for Aries, sun, moon, and rising. That's going to have a whole lot to do with your day-to-day life, whatever happens day-to-day, or your work or your wellness, those kinds of things. All right. So that's for Aries. And now this will be for Taurus. Now, Taurus, this is very simply, this is going to be about relationships this week. I mean, you got the full moon in your house of relationships, and you're really feeling it there in your creativity, in your expression, and what you create. Maybe it's with your children. And so whatever you've created, especially around relationships, that full moon in Leo is going to really speak to your heart this week. Okay. It's really going to open your heart and really bring solution to a long time problem. It's going to help you feel fulfilled, and it's going to help you feel like there is a good answer to this. There is actually something good going to come out of this. And so that's really important for Taurus, especially, because Taurus sometimes doesn't always do well with change, but I feel like these changes will be in the right direction, and I think it will be very destined, so you'll probably very much feel it. It will be some of the strongest things that you've ever felt so far this year for Taurus, I feel, and probably for everybody. Like, it'd be like some of the good stuff that happens this year. So I'm just going to say it's going to be super strong, mostly because it's in a yod there, and the full moon is in a yod with Pluto, and the North Node. So that has a lot to do with destiny and changing. And for Taurus, that's not always easy, but I feel like this Leo moon, it's going to happen. And while it may not be easy for you, you'll master it, you'll do it, you'll step through it with not a whole lot of trouble and be happy for it by the time you're on the other side. Okay, so this has a lot to do with your creativity, your children, or anything that you create, romance, relationships, especially romantic relationships. Okay. And then as we move on to Gemini, this is going to have something to do with your home, your family of origin, where you came from. Okay. Your house. And it depends on how old you are. If you're a little bit older, it'd probably be more about your home or your house. It's going to really feel like there's been something that is resolved, a beautiful thing happens, and it's going to feel really good for you, Gemini. It's going to feel like, wow, this feels really good. And it could have something to do with your parents as well, or where you came from, the home that you're living in now, or something to do with your childhood. Maybe you find some healing or understanding of that, or you find maybe a tool to help you with that healing, especially as you start to experience, this T-square, and the T-square with it in a square to Uranus. It could be very surprising, and you could be really taken off guard, as well as Taurus. It could really surprise you, okay? But it will feel really, really, I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty good, particularly if you followed your intuition. Don't fight against things, try to follow it. And so that's for Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Now, as we go forward to Cancer, it's that community thing, okay? So Cancer, it's going to have something to do with your communication, or the community, your neighbors, your siblings, people like that, people around you. You're going to be able to bring through your heart. They're going to be able to hear you, see you, understand you, and really feel like something good is happening for you. Something is supporting you. You're going to feel supported. So this is really good. This is like the people around you that are supporting you, which, for Cancer, that feels really good. Cancer, there's no better way to help a Cancer feel good than to help them understand that they're supported, and when they feel loved and supported by the people around them, because family is so important to them. When family supports them, they just feel really good about it. That's what's important to a Cancer, by the way. So this is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay. Now this would be on Wednesday, right? Okay, so this is like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, so just to remind you where we're at here in case you just tuned in. And then as we move on to Leo, Leo, the full moon is in your sign. So follow your intuition, because it is strong, especially in relation to money and values and things you want, things you love. So that's what you really want to listen to, Leo. You really want to tap into that. You really want to allow that to come in for you. And this full moon is just going to light up your second house, really helping you to feel valued and feel loved, to feel seen, and that's really important. I really feel like for Leos, this is a really great turn of events for you. You've been struggling with something for a while, and you finally find some relief, and that is worthy of a great day. So Leo, this is for Leo sun, moon, and rising. You're going to feel some relief, some sort of validation or something like that. You're going to feel like, wow, okay, finally you heard me. Great. Okay. And that's going to change things for you. All I can think of right now is my grandson who has a Leo moon, and that's exactly what's happening to him right now. So it's actually just pretty much happened today. So okay, so now for Virgo, it says, see, this is what happens with the full moon, is that the moon moves so quickly. So then what I'm actually going to do is actually just do this and take us back to Virgo. Oops. Shoot.
Wrong one.
That's not what I meant to do. Okay. So we'll try that again. And we're going to do Virgo. This is for the Virgo moon. Oops. Yep. This is for Virgo sun, moon, and rising. I'm just adjusting my chart here so I can see where the moon lands for you. It looks like it's going to land in the 12th house for the sun, moon, and rising when it's in its fuller state. And so what I'm going to say about that for Virgo is that that's really going to be this, this might have something to do with like things you don't always see or recognize, or things that are invisible to you, including invisible enemies, as well as, or unseen enemies, as well as institutions. Something's going to like kind of like, okay, or okay, success, we found relief. Okay, and it's going to be in relation to those kinds of things. It could be psychic abilities, it could also even be like personal self-sabotage, anything like that you've been doing, anything that's been going on for you, that's been, that you've been struggling with, Virgo. You're going to find resolution to it, but it'll probably be in relation to institutions, your psychic abilities, or both, or maybe self-sabotage. Okay, so if that, maybe it's all three. I'm just thinking about myself going, wait a minute, it might be all three for me. And so all in one whack. Okay, so if that happens, just accept it and love it and know it's meant to be, and just welcome it into your life, even if you weren't expecting it. Okay, now with the Libra, so this is for Libra sun, moon, and rising Libras. This is going to have something to do with someone that has power over you. Who has power over you? Who's in your life that is with you? It could be authority, or even a friend, or they don't have to have power over you, but sometimes it is, or it's someone that's very influential. And this is a friend, and this is going to come through for you, Libra. This is going to come through in a way that you're going to really recognize, have some sort of positive experience of this, in where you recognize that something that you've been struggling with for a while is going to come to an end. And when that happens, I think that that's super important for you, Libra sun, moon, and rising. This is going to have to do with your friends, or people that have power over you, or the people that you interact with on a regular basis, Libra. And so just know that there's going to be a little bit of a relief. This is going to be helpful. You're going to find a way through, and it's going to feel relieving. Okay. And now, as we move on, not by a minute, by hours. Okay. All right. So now this is for Scorpio. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Scorpio, the moon is in your 10th house of career and the work you bring in the world. Whatever you bring to the world, the full moon is there, and it's ready to bless you. It's ready for you to be seen and validated and understood. And you're going to feel like at least you are seen, at least the whatever you've been up to in your work in the world, or whatever you've been working on with your gift to the world, that's going to be finally seen and recognized in a really good way for you, Scorpio. And I feel like this is a real blessing for you because you've been needing this, especially when it comes to like work and career, or whatever you offer the world, Scorpio. So just hang in there because it's coming this week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's really when you're going to feel it. And as we move on to Sagittarius, now Sagittarius, you're really going to feel this in your spirituality, in your house of higher learning, in maybe with legal matters. This could apply to legal matters. Okay, any of that kind of stuff, higher learning, colleges, or any kind of higher learning, any kind of continuing education type of thing, or extra education, particularly also with your spiritual, like, your spiritual expression, your spiritual exploratory, as well as moving and things like that, which I know that's important to you, Sag. The full moon is there. Okay, it's full moon, and so it's a full moon in Leo. So if you've been working on like relocating or thinking about relocating, some of those answers might come to you pretty freely or clearly. And with the moon in Leo, you're just really going to be able to grasp what's happening, and you'll be able to make a good decision, especially with legal matters or moving or relocating or any kind of travel or anything like that that might be coming up for you. And so the moon in your ninth house is really about like, oh, you finally are seen. Maybe you finally see some parts about yourself, or see some parts about what this all means for you and what you've been going through, and maybe you finally have like a little bit of a spiritual awakening. So that could be a real blessing for you, Sagittarius, especially in the coming later in the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, so that was for Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. Now for Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising, what I'm going to say for you is that this has a whole lot to do with your shadow. This has a lot to do with those taboo subjects that you don't like to talk about, things that you don't want to really, you don't want anyone to know. Okay, but you're finally going to have a little bit of a breakthrough. Maybe you'll even find your way to something in the occult, like such as astrology or other things, in the occult, like witchcraft or spirituality, not necessarily like traditional religion. Usually it's the occult and things that have to do with the occult. So if you're not sure where to look, go look there if you need some resolution to things with the full moon there, because that's where it's going to be. Maybe your intuition really comes online. That would also be there. Okay. The eighth house is really about things. It's also about death. So you could find yourself healing. Maybe you've lost someone in the last year or so, and you could really make a big breakthrough with healing. So maybe you're coming to my medium class tomorrow night, medium group tomorrow night, and wham, you're going to make a big breakthrough. Okay. And that's going to be really, really awesome for you. That's going to be a big deal. So that kind of thing, like if you're doing any kind of learning in the occult or anything like that, the Leo, you're really going to be seen. Okay. You're really going to be on fire. Okay. Because I have a medium class this week, tomorrow. Okay, so that's for Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. And now as we move on to Aquarius, have you been struggling with relationships lately? Well, because Aquarius, this is what's about to happen, is you're about to have a really big-hearted moment. It will probably surprise you. Maybe some solutions could come up. It could be challenging. Try not to get too challenged with this, particularly on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, you could feel particularly challenged for some reason. So just hang in there on Wednesday and know that a solution is on its way. Listen to your intuition. Know that it's coming for you. Pay attention, Aquarius. It's going to be okay. You're going to find a way through. It might feel a little rough at first, but then it's going to smooth on out for you, especially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when you start to realize the full moon and find your solution to the relationship thing you've been dealing with, okay? Or whatever it is in regards to relationship that needs to be handled, okay? And as we go forward for Pisces, oh, Pisces, you poor thing. Uh, like we thought Aquarius, but Pisces, you got a lot going on this year. Saturn is there. There's other planets on their way to you, Pisces. You got the North Node there. Man, it has been a thing for you, okay? And the moon is in Leo, and it might be a little bit challenging for you as well, but really it's probably mostly going to be a pretty decent blessing. You probably will experience some sort of change or shift in your day-to-day life that feels like a blessing, that feels like a solution has been resolved. You've found the end to the problem. And in your day-to-day life, it'll probably have something to do with how you feel day to day, and maybe even your wellness and your stress levels and things like that. Like your general wellness will probably get better. And I know that's a concern for you right now, Pisces, with the North Node there and the South Node in Virgo. So, because the nodes are really talking to you about your health and your wellness, your emotional well being, and things like that. So, make sure you listen to that for the next year and a half. And since that's happening with that full moon in Leo, it's also going to speak to your mental health and to integrity and doing the right thing. And that's going to be really important for you. And I think that's what's going to be the big deal for you this time, Pisces. Okay.
Wow.
Thanks.
That's amazing. What do you think, Lacrosse?
Oh, sorry, I had to unmute. I went to click, so I wanted to unmute myself. I hit
That's okay.
comment instead. Sorry. Well, it's really interesting because we're still in Otter, and with everything that's been going on, like within the U.S. and stuff like that, it's like a lot of people think that Otter is playful and sweet and cute and this and that, but Otters teach a big lesson of collective, and unity, and they are very social creatures, and they need their family. And just with everything going on, I mean, I don't know how it really connects with the astrology, but I know how it connects with the world at the moment right now. And it's getting your collective, getting your group, getting your bunch of other people and connecting with them and allowing to be each other's support through all that's going on. That's pretty much where I've just been seeing Otter big time within the past week, 2 weeks. Well, since Otter season started, it's been this needing of unity and us getting together. So that's kind of what I got.
That's like the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to figure out where in the astrology it would connect to, but
that would be great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's literally, it's out of the cutie thing now. It's literally the work of the otter. Otter's doing real big medicine here, and you see a lot of people uniting right now and getting together. And because as much as they're social, they're also independent, and it's a lot of people are standing up and saying, "Okay, you know what? It's time to stop playing around. No more fun time with Otter. Now Otter's going to business." So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and people are getting to it. They're getting to the important work in the world. Okay, so let's answer a few questions here. Alyssa said, what does it mean to have a cradle in your chart? Do you want to talk about the cradle? You want me to?
You could go ahead.
Okay. So the cradle is very simply, it will involve all the planets that are part of the cradle. You're probably seeing that on Astro.charts. That area will be fairly easy for you for the most part. Meaning that like the universe will kind of hold you in that energy, and most of those planets will speak together in a good way. In other words, it might come together so easily that there could even be times that you take it for granted. So be careful of that, because sometimes too many good placements in a chart can sometimes make people lazy. Just because they don't, and everything just happens for them. And then when things start to go wrong as they progress in age, they're like, why isn't this going right for me? Okay, so just saying. So, just be aware that it's there, and I would just try to practice gratitude and notice the good things that come together easily for you. So Alyssa said, funny you mentioned that about Gemini. Daughter and I both have Gemini in our big three. I love how spot on astrology is as well, Alyssa. So the funny thing about that is that, can you imagine if you got a reading, if I was actually looking at your chart, how spot on it would be? That's the part that is like, the thing about astrology is that, frankly, it's the best divination tool I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I've done them all. I've done pendulums. I'm a psychic medium. I've done tarot cards. I've done, yeah. But the most accurate is astrology. And that's that. And there's no tool that can compete with its accuracy or its ability to not only understand who you are and to validate who you are, but also to predict how things might unfold for you, and also how to heal yourself, how to get through something. You know what I mean? Like, how do I deal with this, Hollis? You know, I have Mercury retrograde. How do I deal with that, right? How do I deal with Venus retrograde? My Venus is retrograde. I feel like I struggle with money, and how do I deal with that? The healing, the fun thing is that not only is the problem that you struggled with most of your life, not only is that in your chart, but so is the answer. How to resolve that, how to deal with that, how to work through that. That's also in there. And I think that's the most powerful thing an astrologer can know. Because it's one thing to be able to read your chart, and I learned this in a couple of courses that I've learned from. I have many teachers. Nadia Shaw is one of my biggest teachers, but she has a school and she features all kinds of teachers. Plus, I've been to other schools and other conferences and such. And I think I can remember specifically Kira Sutherland helping when she was teaching medical astrology, because yes, you can use astrology for your health and medical things. In fact, if you're going to get surgery and you get to choose the day, you might want to check with an astrologer. And that when you're looking at the astrology chart, finding the healing is possible. And she showed us in the class how to do that. And it's a little bit more complicated than I can explain to the average amateur astrologer. But I'm just saying that, like, if your astrologer points out something that's a challenge, they should also be able to point out how to help you resolve it. And I think that that's the gift of a good astrologer, that right there, that they should also be able to say, while this might be challenging for you, here's your resolution. Here's how to resolve it. Here's how to deal with it. And I think that's the most powerful thing about astrology. So Barbara said, my daughter is a Cancer sun and moon. She needs that support and family right now. Well, good thing, because it's easy to give it to her, and that's what Cancer, they love. That's best way. It's like Cancer love language.
And I highly recommend she have a moon app, because she cycles with the moon. Boy, oh boy, does she cycle with the moon. So knowing where the moon is and how it's impacting her, there's free stuff online. You can get it on your phone. I have too.
You know, I've done readings for people that have strong Cancer placements like sun, moon, or rising. And when I start talking about how they cycle with the moon, they're like, I thought I was bipolar. And I'm like, no, you're not bipolar. No. No, you're just cycling with the moon. You're a double Cancer.
That's funny.
Give yourself a break.
I thought I was bipolar.
Yeah,
no,
I've had numerous people think that they have some sort of mental health condition. And I'm like,
I have a mood disorder because I cycle with the moon.
No. And if you learn to accept that, it's much easier to ride those changes, if that makes sense. So then you're not giving yourself a hard time for 4 days because you've been down for a few days. Like, you just kind of accept it and go, okay, well, the moon was in Cancer and I was feeling a little down. Let me go outside and meditate. Let me go outside and be with the moon. Let me feel this full moon or whatever's going on. You know, like, you just feel it deeply in you. And I notice for the people that I coach, because if you're coming to coaching with me, regardless of why, I'm going to look at your astrology chart, because the healing is in there. I know how to heal you through your chart, because healing's not the same for everyone, in case you haven't noticed. But the one thing that I can say about Cancer is when they start to pay attention to the moon, know where the moon is and what cycle it's in, suddenly they start to understand themselves so much more. And they'll come back to me and they'll be like, Hollis, I can't believe this. I started following it on the Moon app and now it makes so much more sense now. I understand when my intuition is strong. I understand when it's not really a good time to do readings. I understand when I'm feeling really sensitive and cancer placements. I'm just always like, watch the moon. It changes every 2 days, my friend. You are not bipolar.
You want to know about those voids, especially.
Yeah.
Because it's like the relief valve.
Yep.
It's the moment of the in-between when the moon is switching from one sign to the next. And there's always a little void. Sometimes it's only a minute or two, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And sometimes it's almost a whole day.
And I feel like that's probably why it feels random to them as well. Because Cancer usually says that their mood usually feels random. And it's not. It's not random.
It's not.
It's not random.
Not if you know how to look.
All right. So Barbara said, Sagittarius rising for my daughter. Wow, wow, wow. I'm amazed at how absolutely accurate this was. I so appreciate this, and I'll pass this on to her. I know it will help her see she's doing the right thing. That's great, Barbara. Yeah, just share it.
Right.
Let her know to listen. So that's nice, Barbara, that you were able to listen for your daughter. I'm sure she really appreciates that.
That's great.
And now Alyssa saying my youngest son has a cradle on his natal chart. That's interesting. Especially especially pay attention to what planets are involved. Like if the moon is involved, that's probably going to mean you. Okay. So just so you know that.
Mom is
moon is mom.
Mm-hmm. Saturn is dad.
Usually.
Mm-hmm. Generally speaking.
Yep. Venus is the women in your life. Mars is the men in your life. Okay, and Alyssa said, oh, for sure, I bet. Just since John's death, astrology reading, I've been connecting dots and keep going back to our reading and seeing more and more connections. That's so beautiful, Alyssa. Yay. See, this is the power of an astrology reading. It is, you think it's accurate on here, me doing these little horoscopes? Huh, you should see what it's like when I actually look at your astrology chart. Most people are dumbfounded. Most people are like I get partway through and I'm like, do you have any questions? And they're like, because they just can't believe how many things I just said I validated about them. They just can't believe it.
So if you're still trying to figure out how to get your sun, moon, and rising, you can go to Hollis's website, divineandrogen.com, and they have a little booklet that helps you get the basics. And that'll get you started. Really important to get started there.
Yep.
Then when you're ready for more, we also have a course. And the course is a 5-part series that gives you the basics of astrology. Understanding the zodiacs, understanding the planets, understanding the houses, understanding the transits. And the beauty of that course, which is also very affordable, is that you get two sessions with Hollis to help you understand how to read your chart.
And
that's priceless.
And if you're catching this now, here's a coupon that I only give out during these lives. So this is a coupon. So if you go to divineandrogen.com/shop-2 or click digital shop in the menu and then use the coupon code live50, it'll be 50% off. So I think you'll pay a whole like $5-10 for it. Okay. It's so inexpensive. It's just basic sun, moon, and rising. You can also use that for the astrology class and get 50% off of that astrology class that comes with coaching and everything that Bright Hawk was talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, we should probably wrap up.
Hold on a second. I just want to acknowledge the people in the group.
Okay. Yeah.
Because so Beth said, how do I find out where my sun fits as far as the sun, moon, and rising? So you want to find out. So your sun is a planet on the astrology chart. When were you born? I'm not sure what you mean by that. August 12th. Maybe that's your birthday, Beth. She said, how do I find out where my sign fits as far as sun, moon, and rising for August 12th?
That's why I'm recommending you go to
Okay, Beth, I think you might be confused. So I'm going to give you a link and then you could just go get this beginner's manual. And I put the code, the coupon code in there too for you. I'm going to just reply to your comment because it doesn't quite make sense. Kit Spears said, I loved what you wrote about what you are doing today. I hope it's okay. I'm not a queer. I just love many, and I thought this would be an awesome live to join, but I'm way late. Oh, Kit, I'm so glad you're here. We are a longtime LGBTQ podcast. We started out by interviewing people during the pandemic, and now we mostly do astrology. Lacrosse here is also part of the LGBTQ community. All three of us are, and we always include conversations about the LGBTQ community, such as Uranus and Aquarius, which are all big part of the queer movement. So Kit says, does Aquarius have anything like the moon is to Cancer? Yes, Kit, it actually has Uranus. So you probably also want to find your sun, moon, and rising again. So again, you're going to want that little, that manual we're talking about, just so you can learn what your sun, moon, and rising are. And the thing is that, like, yeah, your sun is important, like your Aquarius sign, your main zodiac is important, but your rising is more important, and so is your moon. Your moon is your emotions, and Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is the queer planet. Speaking of, so I'm not surprised to hear that you're an Aquarius, because almost always Aquarians are typically LGBTQ friendly. Even if they're conservative, they'll even say like something like, they'll be one of those conservative people who's like, well, I don't have any problem with gay people. Like, they'll say that, right? Okay. And they have some other problem, and that's why they're conservative. But most people that are Aquariuses will generally be very queer friendly and very okay with LGBTQ people. Watch, it's a thing. You can watch out for it. It's an interesting thing. So that's Beth's birthday. Okay, birthday, that's just your birthday, Beth. So I would have to plug it in, and I don't know what year you were born. I don't know what city you were born. I don't know what time you were born. So go get that manual, and this will all make way more sense. Okay? Just go get that manual, and it will give you directions on exactly how to get your free astrology chart and how to get started with this broadcast with me. And so then you can listen to all three of them. Then you'll know your sun, moon, and rising. And then when I do that thing that I just did, you'll be able to say, oh, okay, I see. So I'm mixing these three things, and then it will make sense for your week. We do this broadcast every week. We're here at 3:30 Mountain Time. I don't know what that converts to in your time zone. So that's like 5:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 in Pacific time. It's like 11:30 at night in the UK. So just so you know, just be aware that we do this every week. So subscribe, tap in, and I usually go live in the group that you're in right now. Okay, Beth? Yeah, you're welcome, Kit and Beth. I'm happy to get you started, get you out the door, and and then come back and bring your chart with you. I strongly recommend printing it if you can, and because then you can make notes right on the paper. It's a really great way to learn, and I'll slowly teach you here. I'll teach you all kinds of things, and it'll really help. You can ask Barbara and all of these other people that seem that they know what they're talking about, like Alyssa here, right? Alyssa didn't know anything about it until she came to me, okay? And then I started teaching her, and look at how much she's learned already. And Alyssa said, my daughter is also a Cancer moon and Gemini rising, and psychiatrists have been concerned about bipolar and BPD. No, why don't you
remember, Geminis, the twins, they can be two different people.
Mm-hmm.
Geminis are
isn't that interesting?
Air sign. They're thinkers, and
she's really struggling, but maybe she should just try some astrology first before she gets on any medication. And certainly therapy is highly recommended if she's had some sort of trauma. But all the answers to that is in her astrology chart. Okay.
That's amazing. So cool.
Yeah, good job, Barbara. Tell her, hi, Tracy. Great to see you. I'm glad you stopped by. And Barbara said, I bought the astrology basics thing last week. I knew a lot of it already, but I really like the descriptions for each sun, moon, and rising sign.
Nice.
Great, because it really breaks it down for you, right? It's like, okay, well, if you have moon in Aquarius, this is what it means, okay?
That's great.
So, and I'm so glad we can't keep you away, Barbara. We're happy to have you with us, honestly, really.
All right. Wow.
I use, if you have an Apple phone, it's called the Moon app.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Real basic. It's real basic and it's free, I think, or it's $2 a year, or something like that. Okay. So I'm going to pull 3 cards for us from the LGBTQ deck. Love is love, because that's what love is. Love is love. And we are looking at our week. And so, so first thing we're going to do is, this is for the past, and this is the Knight of Swords, okay? And you can see there on this deck, on this person has really sort of tied themselves in, actually. They've actually tied themselves up, and they're restraining themselves. That's what the 8 of Swords is. This is about self-sabotage. Were you sabotaging yourself? Were you doing something? Were you making this harder than it needed to be? And so with the 8 of Swords, that's exactly what this is about. This is about you realizing that maybe you've been sabotaging something, or realizing that sabotage needs to change, especially as we go forward into the here and now. And this card is for right now. This is the Knight of Wands. This is what you're realizing in this moment, this intention you're setting. You really have a good idea of where you're going. You're really good at knowing, okay, this is my intention. This is what we're going to do. And with the Knight of Swords, notice this is the 8 of Swords, okay? And then this one is the Knight of Wands. And with the Knight of Wands, the Knight is very much about not war so much, but conflict, like standing up, like going to do the right thing, like, you know, including in, you know, things like protests and things like that. This is the Knight, right? And the Knight is going to bring messages. The Knight usually delivers messages of intention. So maybe now you're finally speaking your intention, and people are paying attention, and good things are happening as a result. And that's exactly what's happening here. Okay, with the Knight of Wands, with this Knight of Wands, this is very much about, this is what I can do. This is my intention. I can go forward. I can do this. And this is really good, okay? Now, going forward, this is just a reminder that some things could happen. This is about conflict and protest. This is the 5 of Wands. And the 5 of Wands can sometimes be really hard to work through just because it's about conflict. But as you can see, there's 2 sides to, maybe more than 2. What do you want to say? Like 3 or 4 sides to the story here. There are many different, maybe there's 5 sides to the story. And the thing is with this is that, you know, this is about standing up. This is about pushing forward and finding resolution to those problems and working through the protest. And remember that the protest is part of the process, okay? That's really what's happening now in our country as well, if you think about it. So if some protests start happening, I wouldn't be surprised to see them, especially as Mars goes direct at the end of this month. We could start to see some conflict, okay? And so the 8 of, we could definitely see conflict this week, okay, you guys? All right, so this is self-sabotage. How have we, and sometimes some of us have been sabotaging ourselves, including with politics. Sometimes we're just putting our head in the sand, you know, and I've heard some people talk about that. I just put my head in the sand. I just can't stand it anymore. And I know, and it's gotten to a boiling point, and some of us are realizing that the pot's boiling over, and we got to do something about it. And this is where, this is self-sabotage. This is realizing how we have sabotaged ourselves and what we could have done better. And now we know what we're supposed to do, and we're going to be headed forward. We're going to be making changes. We're going to set our intentions. We're going to move forward and try to set and keep those intentions. Just remember, there could be some protests, some conflict along the way. Just be ready for it. If you're ready for it, it'll go better. And that's really what this is about. This is about overcoming that conflict and working through that conflict. And remember that just because there's conflict doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be terrible. Sometimes conflict is good because it helps put you in the right direction.
Wow.
Very good. Very good.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And yeah. So Kit said, I will, and I'm so glad to hear that. I am going to pay attention to other Aquarius people I know. And now that you say that they are all LGBTQ friendly or fit into LGBTQ, yeah, sometimes they are LGBTQ themselves, and then sometimes they're at least an ally is usually what I notice. Even if they're kind of like an on the down low ally, they're still usually an ally. Yeah, they're not straight. They're not usually homophobes. I mean, they could be, but they probably have some placements in their charts that could be. Overall, mostly. Okay. Well, you're welcome, Alyssa. Isn't that very sweet? Alyssa said, thank you, Hollis, Bright Hawk, and Lacrosse. I'm so incredibly grateful for you all.
Well, we're incredibly grateful for you. Thank you all for listening. And I'm hoping that you're subscribed to our channels so that you'll know when we go live. And it really helps actually when you subscribe to the channels. So many thanks for that.
Absolutely. Well, I guess thank you all for stopping in. And again, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And thank you for watching Rainbow Soul Astrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars.
Bye.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soul Astrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soul Astrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.